So today we are going to look at fabric for your slow stitching projects, what kinds of fabrics you can use, how you can use them and where you can get them from. Hi everyone, my name is Sarah, this is my channel Sarah Homfray Embroidery, and this video follows on from the classes I've been teaching recently. We've been in the forest and we've been making little embroidery samplers and we've been choosing lots of fabrics, and I took a big fabric stash and everyone just dived in and picked little bits they like, but I thought it would make quite a good video really to talk about slow stitching. I have a lot of stash of fabric and I don't really think twice about grabbing some out of a box and putting it together, but if you don't have a stash of fabrics, I thought I would talk about what kind of fabrics you can use for slow stitching, where you can get them from as well, and some cheaper options if you're on a bit of a budget. So I've got a table full of stuff that I'm quite excited to show you that I pulled you from my stash, and I thought we'll just start right at the beginning. If you're a quilter or a patchworker or a dressmaker, you've probably got some scraps of fabric. So I've got some quilting fabrics here, just lots of different kinds. These are the ones we've been using in the forest. This one was popular because it's all been cut. So just quilting cottons, printed quilting cottons are really nice if you want to make a little collection. They're really lovely things to buy, but if you quilter or a dressmaker, you already have lots of these. Think about patterned ones and things that you can cut out of your fabrics. There's lots of butterflies going on there. I bought some of this wood inspired one. I thought we're going in the forest, it might be nice to have something inspired directly from the trees. I've got some leaves here. So lots of pattern fabrics available. There's loads and loads available. They're really beautiful. So if you're going to start collecting those, do just be careful. It's a bit dangerous, but also think about plain fabrics as well, because you might need something plain in the background. If you're slow stitching, the stitches are going to make the pattern as much as the fabric. If you're watching this for the first time and you don't know what slow stitching is, do check out this video up here. I tell you all about it, how to do it, where it came from and what it's all about, so do go and check that one out. So you might want some plain fabrics because your stitching will make the pattern, and you can have lots of different kinds of fabrics. I quite like natural fabrics, but you'll see in a minute they don't have to all be natural fabrics, so linens and cottons. This is quite a nice sort of scrim. It's quite open, but you can have a little bit of fun with this, pulling it around and stitching things through that. And I'll come back to those in a second. And if you don't have a fabric stash at all and you want to start somewhere, a really good thing to start with is just a plain cotton. It doesn't get plainer than this. This is a calico cotton. I often use it for backing my embroideries with, but you can do so much with just a plain cotton because you can decorate it yourself. So you can start with that as a basis to work all your other fabrics on top of, and you can also decorate it. So there's one that I have printed on, block print. I did some little samples of fabric paint. We've got a video on fabric paint and how you can use that in your embroideries, and these are all the little samples I made for the video, and these are just painted on the calico, but look how fun they are. So now I can repurpose those into some slow stitching. That would be fun. Painted the whole of them, so I've got a completely different coloured fabric. Bit of sparkle on there, and just trying some different ideas out. Painted some little moons. So that's a little bit of linen, so that's a different kind of fabric, quite a dark one, but you can still use dark fabrics. A really nice contrast with some lighter ones, and a little stencil design I did, so I painted on those. So now I've done my video on fabric painting, those ones would be really nice to bring into my slow stitching. So if you don't know where to start, a plain piece is a really good idea. And then I just want to mention one more thing on this front. If you're looking for quilting fabrics, you can buy these panels. That one was wonderful. And if you buy a panel, you can get a lot of different patterns out of that. If you just buy one piece of fabric, I've just got lots of leaves, but they're all the same. If I buy a panel, I've got lots of different motifs on there. I've got different patterns in the background. I've got little stripes across the top there. I've got little motifs, I've got bigger motifs, so you'll get a lot more for your money if you go down that route, if you want to buy some quilting fabrics, because you've got lots of different things you can put together. So if you want to purchase some quilting fabrics, there's lots of different places you can get them from. If you're lucky enough to have a quilting show, there are a lot over the UK certainly, and I'm sure there are in other countries too, so you can pop along there and usually get some really nice bargains, and often get some bundles that will go together as well. But there are tons online, so if you just Google or you just search for quilting cotton, then you will find loads, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of designs, and you can buy little pieces as well. You can buy fat quarters, which are just a small square of it, and you can buy lots of different kinds to use for your slow stitching. So once you've used some of your quilting fabrics, or if you're a quilter or a dressmaker, save all the little ends as well. All of these are usable for slow stitching. You might look at that and think, well, what can I do with that little piece there? Brilliant for slow stitching. You can layer these up, you can make little collages out of them. So I just keep them in a box. I don't have a basket like that. I've got a huge big box full of them, and we had a good route around them in the class the other week. So all of these little bits are usable, and you can sort them out if you want into colour, but it's quite nice the way they just sit in the basket, because you might find a surprising combination that would go together that you may not necessarily think about if they were in separate containers and all organised. So I just quite like to leave the little bits like that, and I can pull them out as and when. And I'm just going to show you this little sampler. I've got some samples I'll show you throughout relevant. So this is one that I put together. I haven't stitched on it yet, but this is one of these little samplers, and look at these tiny little pieces that I've got on here. We'll talk about lace a little bit later. Just little squares, so all these little offcuts, you can save them all. There's another little bit there, look. So really, really good for little projects like this. You can build them up and make really interesting textures. So do keep all the little ends as well. So if you don't want to go out and buy new fabrics, you can have a route around and see if you've got any old one, and the best place to find them is old clothing. I've got a pile here that I'm going to go through, and I have got most of these from a charity shop or a Goodwill shop, somewhere where they sell second-hand fabrics, a flea market or a jumble sale, somewhere like that. Go and have a route around those, because there's some amazing things in there. And the great thing about buying fabric for slow stitching from there is you don't have to buy things that fit you. You can go and look in all the sections and just look at the fabrics and the textures and the colours. So here's a little example. I found this dress the other day, and I was looking for denim. I was looking for blue fabric, and I found this little dress in my local charity shop. And I thought, oh, that's really nice. That fabric's lovely. It's got little pinstripes down it, and I thought that's great. And then when I got it home, I thought, I actually really like the dress. And I thought it's a little bit too big though, and I thought, could I make it bigger? And I'll put it under this camera here. So I actually cut up the side of it, and I've inserted a panel in some denim fabric, and I thought I would slow stitch over here and put some patches of fabric on and do some slow stitching and actually wear it. So that one did start being, oh, that's really great for the fabric, and I thought, can I adapt it and make it into something and make a slow stitch garment? So sometimes you buy things and other things happen with it, even though it didn't fit. So that one I think is going to be a nice slow stitched garment. I'm actually going to do some stitching on that one. But I also had another one similar to that, which I bought ages ago, planning to do that with it, planning to make it fit and turn it into something. So again, it's this nice tunic with this beautiful fabric. Look at the stripes on that, really lovely. And this amazing embroidery on the top as well. So you can use all the parts of a garment. And this one I was going to do the same as for the blue and put a panel in the side, and then I didn't know how to make it work and it never got done. So I might actually swap these over, and I might actually cut this one up, because there's all of this beautiful red fabric. It's got this lovely braid across the bottom you could take off, and this beautiful embroidery on the top. So there's lots of different usable parts to it as well. And often with clothing, it's got a lining in it, and it will be a different fabric and a different colour from the front. So you've got another layer as well there. So you can just cut it apart if you want to. You can just get a pair of scissors and cut straight across there. I tend to unpick just because you get the most out of the fabric, and I find that quite therapeutic. But if you don't want to, you can just cut straight through there, and you've got all that fabric to use. And don't forget, if there's any buttons or things on like that, you can save the buttons and use those as well. Got some denim. So this is the denim I used for the insert to the dress. So this is off the roll. You can buy by the metre online. Lots of places sell denim on the roll online, and I use that quite a bit. I'm using that in the blue dress, and you can change it as well. If you don't like the fabric, the colour it is, you can do stuff to it. So you can hand dye it. I actually left these pieces outside. They've been outside in the sun on the washing line for quite a long while. This is the same fabric. This is this blue fabric. And you can see how it's faded in the sun, and it's done lots of different things and given it a really interesting texture and a different colour. So you can change the fabrics as well if you want to. This is a pair of Jonathan's old jeans that were going out in the charity shop. So you can, as I mentioned, either change the actual clothing and keep it as the clothing and do some repair on it, do some slow stitching, mending, visible mending on it if you want to. But I just wanted to show you these because there's a lot you can do with a pair of jeans, especially a jeans jacket. And there are loads of jeans in charity shops. They're not hard to find at all. Probably the most worn garment in the world or something, aren't they? Denim jeans. So very different on the inside. So if you want to turn it inside out and use that colour, you can. You've got pockets that you can use. They're really great in slow stitching. You can put the pocket on. You can see how the little tags have come off here. So you've got all this interesting sort of seams here. So you can actually cut them out and use that and use it as it is. You've got buttons on the front as well here. So lots of interesting details. So you can have fun. Look at that little pocket there, the little coin pocket that you get in it. So loads of really great parts of a pair of jeans, and that will go a long way. There's a lot of fabric in adult clothing, especially if you take it apart, you'll get loads that you can use for your slow stitching.
What's wrong with those jeans?
You chucked them out.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You haven't even noticed that they've gone, had you? No. It's also a good time to go through your own wardrobe and see if there's anything that you don't like anymore. So this was a dress that I had. I really liked this dress. Really loved it, but it didn't fit and it didn't suit me, but I really liked the fabric. So I cut the top off it and I saved the skirt bit. So this one's got quite a lot of memories for me. So having a nice, using something out of your wardrobe and having this nice material that you've loved from somewhere and it's got lots of memories can be really nice to use in your stitching. Lots of lovely fabric, loads and fabric to use there. This was a little piece off the bottom of a shirt that I bought. For some reason the shirts are always really long. I think they must be really short in the body. So I cut a big bit off the bottom. And this is nice. So this is a bit of a different fabric, probably more synthetic. It's got these interesting little details on it, but you can use any fabric that you like for slow stitching. Just have a little feel of it and see what it does and whether it's stretchy or not. I've got one of those I'll show you in a second. But yeah, just keep all these little things. If you cut the bottom of trousers off, you shorten some trousers, keep that as well. They can be really great and you can just start to build up your fabric stash. This was one I also bought in a charity shop and I wanted to show you this because it's got a funny story behind it. So this one is stretchy, more one way than the other. So you can use stretchy fabrics, just be aware that they're stretchy and they'll do different things. So if you pull them tight and stitch on them, let them go, it's going to all sort of ruckle up a little bit. So just have a think about that. But this garment was on the shelf. It's £4, size 10. Not going to fit me. But I really liked that fabric and it had a nice layer over the top, a sort of another layer of fabric in the same print but a different kind of fabric. You could see through that a little bit and I really liked that. And when I bought it, the woman thanked me profusely and says, oh, I'm glad somebody's buying that, because she says it keeps falling off the hanger and I have to keep picking it up and putting it back on. And she was fed up of doing that, so she was glad that I bought it. And I told her I'm actually going to cut it up and I'm going to use the fabric. And I've used it in this little piece here. So this is the layer that was on top. You can see that's the same fabric, but it's a sort of see-through version of it. And then I've layered it. Try to open that. So I've layered it there on top of another fabric and it's see-through and I've stitched over it. So you just have to have a little bit of imagination and forget what the garment is and look and think, what could I use that for? And do I really like the fabric? And you can make lots of really lovely things out of old pieces of clothing. Hello, buddy. Good boy. So while we're on the clothing theme, you could have a little dig around in the other side of the wardrobe. See what you can find. Ties. Ties are brilliant. You get loads of these in charity shops as well. Men always have too many ties, don't they? Never wear them all. So do ask your other half before you take his best tie, just in case. Somebody gave me these, and these are brilliant for slow stitching because you get lots of really wacky designs on them. There's a little kind of Lowry painting with some little vine leaves there. You get some really interesting stripes, and you often, because they're more muted colours to go with suits, you often get some different patterns that maybe are not flowery and not pink if you didn't want to go down that route. Look at the stripes on that one, they're fabulous. And there's loads of fabric in a tie. If you don't want tons of fabric to get going, these are really good, because if you just undo the seam there, you get twice as much as that. You know, you get a nice big wide piece, often really beautiful fabrics. You can get some lovely silks as well. I think this one is a silk. Really nice, and again they have a lining of a different colour, so you've got two fabrics for the price of one. So if you've just got the time just to take it apart, you can just undo those stitches and pull the stitches out. The silk on it. You've got loads of fabric you can use there, and you can get lots of weird and wonderful and wacky patterns. So do go and check ties out because they're really great. And you can also get scarves as well. Loads and loads of scarves. Really nice piece of fabric, lovely pattern on it, nice different feel to it. I think that one might be silk. And I was at a little flea market and I bought some stuff, and I got chatting to the guy and says, oh, go on, pick yourself another one. So I picked this one purposely with slow stitching in mind. I thought I'm probably not going to wear it, I've got enough scarves, but I thought I'll pick that one. It's got some really nice potential for slow stitching. And there's some silk ones that I got here. I can't remember where these came from now, but she sold them in a bag for £5, I think it was. So some really beautiful silk fabric and silk patterns in there. So you can really go any route that you want to with this. So if you follow me on social media, you might have seen these little handkerchiefs. I got these in the same flea market as I got the green scarf there, and I bought these lovely little handkerchiefs with embroidery on the corner. And then when I got them out of the box, they're in a presentation box, they've got these pin marks all over them, so they've gone a bit rusty from the pins, but these will be perfect for slow stitching. They're not going to be any good for anything else with the pin marks on them. So I could either just use them as they are and layer up some fabrics on there, or I could cut the little motifs out and use the motifs. So have a little look for different things. It doesn't have to be clothing, pieces of fabric. We've got cushion covers. My friend gave me this one a long time ago. So got a lovely piece of embroidery down the middle, and all the mirrors had fallen out. These ones fairly intact. A couple missing there. And they've got this nice big embroidered panel, and when you take it apart, I've got that nice panel that I could use as well. So cushion covers. This one was from my house, and all the beads kept falling off and getting in the washing machine. Really annoying. So that one's been relegated to the slow stitching pile. Got lots of nice velvet I can use. I can take the beads off and I could use the beads as well, and then you could use the inside. Don't forget the insides and the back of the fabric, because you might get something quite different on the back. Curtains are a good place to look. If you want a large piece of fabric and quite a plain piece of fabric, have a look at some curtains. Charity shops have loads of curtains for sale. And this is actually a piece of curtain from the house. We bought these from IKEA. And they're really, really long in IKEA. I don't know how big they think your windows are, but they're kind of cut nearly a third of it off. So this is the bottom of the curtains, but it's actually a really nice fabric to use for slow stitching. It's quite nice and neutral if I want a background fabric. There's tons of it. It's a nice cotton that I can use. So that's the bottom of my curtains from the house. And this one is my curtains from the studio. And these were hanging up in the sunlight. They were hanging up in the door, which gets the sun every day. And they actually went rotten. So you can see there how rotten that fabric is. That's from the sunshine. That's from the warmth from the sun. But don't throw it away, because you can use that. So you can either patch over it and incorporate that into your stitching, or you can do a different technique. So if you've heard of Cantha quilting or Kawandi quilts, then they would use their old saris that had gone rotten and were past their best, and they would actually fold it. You can just fold it in layers, and then you could have another piece of fabric, and they would stitch through that, and they would make blankets with them and just reuse that fabric. So by doubling it and tripling it, you're strengthening it again. You're putting the stitching through that strengthens it even further, and that's perfectly reusable. So even if it's going rotten and it's falling apart and you think you can't use it for anything, you can. And then this little piece was made from that piece of fabric. So there's 3 layers of that. There's the top and there's 2 underneath. So I folded that into 3, layered it up. I put some other pieces of fabric on top of it, and I've done some stitching through, and if I keep stitching, and that's really strong now, and that's made me a nice piece of fabric with that little bit of embroidery. Excuse me. Oh, gone to sleep. So yeah, so a really nice piece of fabric to use for slow stitching. So even if it's gone rotten, don't throw it away. Leave that bit next, Ginger Cat. Somebody. It's tiring, isn't it? So I've got some great charity shop finds, so do find your local charity shop or Goodwill shop and go and have a hunt and see what you can find, because you're also giving to a good cause at the same time. So this one is a little cushion cover. There's loads of part finished embroideries in, especially online. If you have a look on eBay and you just search unfinished embroideries, and there's loads of them come up, and they're really cheap. They're just not something people want. They're old fashioned a little bit now. For home furnishings, and people start them with the best will in the world and they're not get very far with them. So this is one of those. It's a lovely Jacobean design, but it's also really nice linen fabric. It's got this backing on it, so I think it was meant to be a cushion. So I've got that whole piece on the back that I could use, and I could either finish that or I could incorporate that into some stitching as well. So those are really great finds. So pop on the internet to find things like that. Doilies is another one. Crochet doilies, lace doilies. Loads of people giving these away. They're just not something people use anymore, and there's loads of them around. So again, if you hunt for those on an auction websites, you will find these are really cheap, and you can use these in your slow stitching. You could cut them up. There's a little bit of one that's been cut up. Look at that, it's got great big holes in it, but it doesn't matter. You can stitch over it. And you can use that as a little pattern to a background for something. So you can cut them up as well. My friend Julie sent these to me. These were her mother's. So I'd like to do something maybe a bit more special with these. So I did put them through the washing machine and wash them and just iron them and flatten them out a little bit, because they've got this beautiful hand embroidery and these embroidered edges as well. So you can do an awful lot with those, and those are very easy to find. And the same goes for lace. Have a root around in the lace basket. So hi to Cheryl, a lovely friend Cheryl in San Francisco. She gave me these when she came over recently, and just this little selection of beautiful little bits and bobs of lace that have been cut off things. That's got a little buttonhole on it. Seeing Jonathan's lap. Much more appealing. Spread out a bit now. So it's got a little buttonhole on it there, so that must have been some sort of top or other little pieces of lace, just tiny little bits. They're terrific for slow stitching. I love putting lace on my slow stitching. Little borders. Look at this amazing thing. It's beautiful. Some of them are too nice to cut up. I do buy them. That'd be great for slow stitching, and I haven't got the heart to cut it up. Look at that lovely piece there. So all sorts of little bits, and then she's put me a little bag of goodies in. We'll talk about this as well in a minute. Little buttons and little notions and beads and things in there. And I have to say hello to my lovely friend Roz as well. Roz in my art group used to work in this industry. She worked Nottingham lace. Nottingham's very famous for its lace. And she gave me a massive bag of her leftover lace. Some of which is here. Just beautiful little pieces. So if you tell people that you're looking for this sort of thing, you'll be surprised what people have in their stash and in their loft and in the bottom of their sewing box. So tell people if you've got any little bits of fabric or bits of lace, because I'm collecting it for my slow stitching, and it's amazing what people will give you. It's fabulous. And there's a few little bits of my own as well, and all sorts of little things, presents, Christmas time, birthdays. You probably get something wrapped in some ribbon, so get all the ribbon off and save all the ribbon. I think a lot of these things have come from places like that. There's a little bit of crochet, I think. Yeah, just little bits of lace. Sometimes you get something really beautiful. That's in a piece of embroidery. I'll show you that in a second. So yeah, lace, definitely have a little root around and see if you can find some lovely laces. Think outside the box a little bit as well. These were bags. So this was a little clutch bag, which was not particularly nice, but it was covered in all these lovely, look at these, how wonderful are these? So they're machine embroidered little poppies, and this bag was covered in them. It was just, they were all sewn on this bag, and I thought this was amazing. These from the same guy who gave me the green scarf, and I just bought this because I like the poppies, and I think I paid £2 for it. Ridiculous price. So I spent quite a while getting all these poppies off there, and I thought that they might look really nice on that denim dress that I showed you right at the beginning, so I might put these on there and see how they look. So watch this space for that. And then I was going to chuck the bag away. I had these little bits of black lace on as well, which I took those off. And I'm going to chuck the bag away, so I thought that's really horrible. But then I thought, oh, I could just cover that in these little bits of scraps of fabric that we saved from earlier. This is a good time to use them. And I could layer them there, and I could just completely cover it and make a new one. So I've kept the bag as well for that occasion. And this was one of my favourite bags as well that I used to have. And it got a pen in the bottom, and it got a big black mark on it. Big black mark on the bottom. So I kind of cut that out and relegated that to the fabric stash. It's got some interesting textures on it and a little bit of weaving on it. And I just cut out the panel, and I thought I will use that. So bags is another place that you can look. And then if you really want to think outside the box, then you could go down the embellishment route. So this little box is all of my broken jewellery, earrings, odd earrings. I kept so many odd earrings, I don't know where they all go. So I just keep everything that's odd or everything that's broken or fallen apart in here. That's really nice but really horrible fastening on it, and there's just odd little pieces of jewellery, things that I've made. Broken earrings. That was a lovely pair of earrings, really like that, but all the little jewels fell out of the other one. Little necklaces. Oh, there's the other one with all the bits falling out of it. Another odd one without an earring bit on it. So save all of those, they can go on your embroidery, and I'll show you that in a second. And you can take things apart as well. So you can take necklaces apart if they haven't already fallen apart. And you've got lots of lovely little bits you can use there. Look at these little pearls on there and these nice glass beads. So all of those can be used to sew onto your slow stitching. So go and raid your jewellery box and see what you don't wear anymore or what you've only got one of. And I just want to show you this because I have used my jewellery on this little book cover. This is a little painting book. I've got some paintings in here, but I just wanted to show you this cover. So here's some broken jewellery. So there's one earring, all on its own there. There's another earring up here on its own, and a couple of other little bits and pieces as well that I have sewn on. And I found these little bags as well in a little sewing shop when I was on holiday. They had loads of these little bags, and I've actually just sewn the whole bag onto the cover there. So it's got a little bag inside as well. And then you can decorate with a bit of ribbon or a little bit of lace. So you can start to see how these things can come together to make a finished piece. And then the last thing that I want to show you is some found objects. So you can put things onto your slow stitching that you find outside. These are some little shells I picked off the beach. So any excuse to go beach combing. But usually you find these ones and they've been damaged or they're in half and they've got these holes in, which is perfect for sewing down onto something. And if they don't, you can make little holes in. You can get a little drill and you can drill a little hole in it. They're quite easy to drill through. Or you can stitch over it if it's got a little part on it that you can actually put a thread over and stitch down on it. You could do that. So you could add shells onto it. You can see this piece here that I did. This is one of the first slow stitch pieces I did, but these are actual poppy seeds on it here, and I've actually sewn those on. I've sewn them over and over here and put a little bow around them. So you can get really dimensional with these things that you make, and you can put all these things on that you have found. This one up here has also got some of those little shells on it here, and there's one in the middle here, and I've got a feather that I've poked through the shells there. There's a little bit of lace, there's some embroidered fabric, there's a little bit of old silk in here, a little bit of tatting or a bit of lacy, I think that's tatting on there. So you can start to build up all of these things. You've got a little bit of a stash, you can put them together. And I thought I would just finish off with this little landscape that I made. This is my little Norwegian landscape. There's a whole video on how to make these landscapes with your slow stitching, but I thought this was interesting because it combines so many of these different fabric types that we've been talking about. So we've got the cotton calico on the back there. There's a little bit of lace that has been sandwiched in between the calico on the back and this silk tissue on the front. So this is a little bit see-through. This blue one's got really beautiful shine to it. There's some more lace here to represent the snow-capped mountains. This is just a plain cotton here. This is a silk. This is silk from one of the ties that we looked at earlier. There's plain blue fabric here, and then there's some of this beautiful lace that I showed you out of the bag with the little diamonds on it to give a bit of sparkle in the water, and then some of this tie silk again at the front here. And then I found these little wooden embellishments that you can get in all sorts of paper crafting sources online and in actual shops, and I just put some of these little wooden embellishments as well. So lots of different kinds of fabrics that you can put together to make these really lovely little pieces. So if you're inspired by all of these fabrics and all of these goodies and you want to have a go at slow stitching but you don't know what it is, you can check out this video up here. I go through all the basics of it, what it is and how to do it. And if you want to know what stitches you can use on your slow stitching projects, do check out this playlist down here. Lots of stitches on there for you to have a go at. And if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.